Hello guys, today what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make this little bee present. Especially with the holiday coming up and everything, I thought it would be lots of fun to do a crochet along where you guys can crochet with me. We're going to make this little bee. It's great because you can make it in lots of different colors, so if you want to make it as a present for the holiday or for any holiday, you can change the colors accordingly. You can make it in whoever you're giving it to's favorite colors, or you can just make the traditional bee color, which is the yellows, blacks, and this little light blue shade for his wings. So let's go ahead and get started. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a 3.25 millimeter crochet hook. You're going to need your yellow yarn if you're using yellow, or whatever color it is that you're using for the main body color. A pair of scissors. You're going to need a couple types of needles, a yarn needle and an embroidery needle, because we do a little bit of face details there. Embroidery thread, you're going to need a pink for the cheek marks and a black for the mouth. Stitch marker or a piece of alternating colored yarn if you want to use just a little piece of scrap yarn. And then you're going to need 6 millimeter safety eyes with the backings, as well as something that's going to go in the center to make that cube shape. So I'm going to use a piece of foam, but you could also use a wooden block, and even just stuffing if you'd rather just use stuffing. That's always another possibility. It won't keep as much of its, square shape and whatnot, but it's still going to be just as cute. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to crochet each side piece, and we're crocheting back and forth, okay? So we're making rows rather than traditional amigurumi, which is made in the round. This is going to be made with rows where we chain one at the end, and then we work back and forth to make that square section. And we're going to make 6 of them, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we want to do is we want to make a chain 9. So to make a chain, you need to first make a slip knot, okay? So I'm going to wrap it around my fingers, okay? And then I'm going to bring that tail yarn underneath the one that's around my fingers. Pull my fingers out, okay? Don't pull through yet. You want to make sure you grab that tail, and then you'll pull the loop up here, and that creates this knot that is a slip knot. So see how it can move, okay? So that's what you want to do to get started on your chain. You're going to tighten it around your hook, okay? Now make sure you're working with the working yarn and leave the tail. You don't want to work on the tail, or you're going to find out very quickly that you've hit the end. So let's go ahead. We got our working yarn here. I usually hold it in my back 2 fingers here just for tension purposes. And what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over our hook. I usually grab the little knot here that gives me some stability, and I'm going to pull that loop through. That's 1 chain. We're going to do that 8 more times, okay? Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That's 3. Yarn over, pull through. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, if you lose count, you can count the braids. It makes a braid if you see. So it's kind of like a V, right? So each V is 1 braid. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet back across, but we're going to start in the second from the hook. So not this one that's right next to our working loop here. We're going to go right next door, okay? So we're going in through the center of that V. We're going to yarn over from the back and pull forward a loop. That gives us 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over again and pull through both loops. That's a single crochet. Okay, we're going to do that again and go all the way back across. So we're going to go into the next one in the middle of the V, yarn over from the back and pull forward a loop. Now there's 2, yarn over and pull through. Okay, there's 2 single crochets. And you're going to go ahead and repeat that process all the way until the end. So let's go ahead and do that together. Should go pretty quick here. And we're almost to the end. Last one. And there we go. Okay, now we've got our first row here, okay? Now we need to work back that direction. So first we're going to chain one and turn our piece, okay? So now we're working again from right to left, all right? So now we're going to look where that braid is. We want to make sure we go underneath both loops of that V, okay? We're going to go under, grab our yarn from the back, pull forward. That gives us the 2, yarn over, and pull through. So now we're doing again, we're single crocheting back across our flat piece here. And we're going to do that a total of 8 times. Every time you do this, it's 8 single crochets, then you chain 1 and turn, and then another 8 single crochets, chain 1 and turn, and you just keep working up. And then you're going to do this until you have a total of 8 rows back and forth. Okay, we've reached the end. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn. Okay, so what we've done is we've done our 8 rows. Again, you can see that those defined lines right there. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, makes it nice and easy. And then now we need to crochet around the outside of the square, because that's going to make it a lot easier when we're assembling to join the 2 squares together, when we have that nice even edge that single crochet border is going to give us. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, when you are single crocheting around a piece, especially a square piece here, you don't want buckling, right? Because you want it to be as flat as possible, which means that in each corner here, we're going to make 3 single crochets, okay? Now, let's go ahead and get started on this one. So we're counting this last single crochet that we did as 1. So we're going to do 2 more into that same space. So that'll be a total of 3 in that corner space, right? So we go 1 and 2. So now there's 3 single crochets in that corner space because we're continuing on. All right, now we're going to work along the side here. And along the side, you're going to want to do 6 single crochets until you get to that final one. Okay, so we're going to go into where that line is. We're going to go into the very end of that line. We're going to do 1 here. Now go in between the 2 big lines, right? And this 2. Now go back into the line. That's 3. In the middle, 4. Along the line, 5. And then on the middle again is 6, okay? So that got us up that 6 single crochets here. Now we're on the next corner. So we're going to go into that corner space and we're going to single crochet 3. 1, 2, 3 into that corner space. So now it's helped us to turn our work and still keep the piece flat. Okay, so now we're going to work along this side and we're going to do 6 single crochets. So go into the next space from where your last single crochet was and do 1. So you'll see, because this is the original chain where we're on now, when we first started the piece. So this is basically the other half of the braid, right, that we leave behind when we made that original single crochet across for that first row. So we're just working along, putting in 6 single crochets in each of the little spaces that were left behind. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one more, 6. Okay, now we've reached the tail. So now we're going to go ahead and do 3 into this last space here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can pull the tail to make sure it's nice and tight. Now we're back on the other side, so we can use those same lines and then in between line in between to give us our 6 single crochets across. So the first one is going to be that big long line at the end of it. We're going to go ahead and do a single crochet in there. Now in the middle, that's 2. Now in the big line, end of the line, 3. In the middle, 4. On the end of the line, 5. In the middle, 6. Okay, now on this edge we want to just finish off this corner here. Okay, so this 1 single crochet that's here on the end, we're going to count as 1. We're just going to go ahead and crochet 2 more. Okay, so we're going to go into it and we're just going to crochet 2 single crochets in the end there. Okay, now we've reached the end. We're going to do a slip stitch. So we're going to go under the braid, yarn over, pull forward, and then just pull through that loop. Okay, and that's going to finish off the row. Okay, and now we're going to cut off the yarn. Okay. Then going through the loop, we're just going to grab that tail and then pull tight. And you can cut away this little tail here. You don't need that. Okay. So now you're going to do that 5 more times because we need a total of 6 front pieces here to make our cube shape. Okay, I'll meet you back when you're done with those. Okay, so you should have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 pieces here, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and set those aside. The next thing we're gonna do is we're going to make the bow, just so we have all of our pieces together. So let's go ahead and get that blue, that light blue color, or whatever color that you're gonna use to make the wings for your bee. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make this little center piece right here. All right, so we're gonna do in the round as opposed to doing the rows like we did for the side pieces. So we need to make a double magic ring. So to do that, we're going to keep our tension on the back 2 fingers here. We're gonna make a pistol shape. We're gonna go behind and wrap once, twice, and then stop it on the 3rd time with your thumb, okay? So you should have 3 here. Next, what you're going to do is go between your fingers, go under the first 2, up and over that last one, and pull that last one forward, creating an A shape. Now you can slip your finger out, and using your thumb and pointer finger, you can hold the sides, right? And then now we're going to use we've got our yarn tail still in the back. See, we've got our working yarn here. So we've got that nice and mobile, but everything else is set between our 2 fingers here on either side. So now we're going to go ahead and yarn over from the back and pull through. So that basically is just a slip stitch, right? Just to hold it. So now if you let go, it's still keeping its 2 loop shape with the little tail there. Now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and crochet into that center circle around those 2 and the tail, okay? We need to do a total of 6 single crochets in the double magic ring. So we're going to go in, yarn over, pull forward, yarn over, and pull through all loops. Okay, that's a single crochet. Gonna go through, yarn over from the back, pull forward, that's 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through. Okay, do that again, and we're gonna do that till we have 6. So that's 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna start pulling this tail, and you'll see that it started pulling this loop first. So now grab the loop that started pulling in, and you're gonna pull that loop tight first, okay? That's gonna pull the other loop in. Now you just have 1 loop left. Now you're gonna pull the tail again and pull that nice and tight. So now this is not going anywhere. This is gonna keep the hole in the center nice and tight. So even over time, it's not gonna work apart, which if you just do the regular magic ring, it can do that. So that's why I always suggest doing the double magic ring. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and put our stitch marker. Okay, drop that tail. Now you can either work around the tail or you can tuck the tail to the back and then clip it off later, whatever you prefer to do. It's up to you. So now what we need to do is we're going to single crochet around. So we're going to go underneath the braid because from the prior round there. Okay, so now we're underneath the braid. I'm just going to lay this tail over. I'm going to crochet around it. Okay, so I'm yarning over from the back, pulling forward. Now I'm yarning over the tail and then pulling through. And I'm just going to keep doing that around so that we have crocheted 6 single crochets, or the instructions will tell you just single crochet around. What you're doing is just 1 single crochet in the prior round's stitches, so 1 in each. Okay, I'm going to tuck the tail to the back now because it's nice and secure in there. Okay, now you can take your stitch marker off. You're going to go ahead and do a slip stitch into the next one to fasten off. So we're going under the braid, yarning over, pulling forward, and then just pulling through. That's just to bind off or fasten off. Okay, now we need to cut the yarn, leaving enough of a tail to sew it down to the top of the head on your bee later on. We're going to stretch out that loop a little bit, grab the end tail there, and just pull it nice and tight. I'm just going to clip off this other extra tail here that we don't need. All right, so that's just that little center part of the bow. Next up, we need to go ahead and do the little wing parts on the bow. So we're going to make 2 of those. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 8. So again, we need to make a slip knot. We're going to wrap it around the fingers, go in from the back, tuck it through like we're going to tie a knot, but don't pull it all the way. Grab that tail and then go ahead and pull. So now you're going to pull the tail until you've gotten just a small enough loop to stick your hook in. Pull it tight around your hook. Okay, grab your working yarn, yarn over, pull through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, there's chain 8. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start off on the next chain from the hook. So second chain from the hook, not this first V, but the second V. We're going to go in and do a slip stitch for our first one. Okay, so you're just yarning over in the back, pulling forward, and then just pulling it through. Next, we're going to do a single crochet into the next one. Next, we're going to do a half double crochet. So that you yarn over first, go into the next one, yarn over, pull forward. Now you got 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over again. Some fiber there. Okay, yarn over again. That gives you 4 on your hook. That gives you 4 on your hook, and then pull through all of them. So that is a half double crochet. Okay, now we're going to do a double crochet into the next one. So we're going to do yarn over again, just like your half double crochet, going in, yarn over, pull forward, again, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over. Now, pull through the first 2 loops. You should have 2 on your hook, yarn over again, and then pull through those last 2. That's a double crochet, okay? Now we're going to do that again. So we're going to yarn over again, going into the next one, yarn over from the back, pull forward, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, there's 2 on the hook, yarn over again, and pull through the last 2. So that's a double. Okay, that's a double crochet. Okay, now we're going to do a triple crochet, okay? So it's very similar to the double, but we're going to start with yarning over twice. So now we have 3 on our hook, hence the triple. Okay, going in, yarn over, pull forward, yarn over. Now you should have 5 on your hook. You're going to pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so you do 3 times. So what we're doing here is we're building, right? Because these almost look like a leaf if you think about it. This is a lot of the times how people make their leaves. So you start off on the small end. The smallest thing you can do here is a slip stitch, then a single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, and then triple crochet, okay? So this is going to give us that kind of, we're building outwards, right? So now we're on the last stitch here. We're going to do 3 triple crochets into that last stitch so that we can start turning onto the other side of our chain. So give yourself some slack. Yarn over twice. Okay, go into that last loop. Go into that last stitch, yarn over, pull forward, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Do that 2 more times in the same stitch, okay? One more time. Just like what we did on going around single crochets around the square. This is allowing us to turn our work a little bit here. Okay, now that we've come to the end of this, we're going to go ahead and start working on the back side of the chain. And we're going to basically do what we did on the front side of the chain, but in reverse. Okay, so now we're starting big and we're going to get small to get the other side of the wing. So we're going to go ahead and do a triple crochet into the next stitch. Okay, so so go ahead and yarn over twice, go into that first chain, yarn over, pull forward, yarn over, pull through two, pull through two, pull through two. Okay, next we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next 2 stitches. So 1 double crochet, yarn over, going into the next chain, yarn over, pull forward, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. Okay, now do a double crochet into the next one, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do a half double crochet. Now we're just pulling through all of them. Now we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to do a slip stitch in that last one. Now that we've done our last slip stitch to connect, we're going to go ahead and cut away this piece and start pulling your loop out, and then grab the tail and then fasten off. Okay, so that's one wing. Now this end you can go ahead and weave in, or I would suggest weaving it in a little bit and then clipping it off. Otherwise you're going to end up with a bit of a toot here sticking out. So that would be my recommendation. And then let's go ahead and make another one. So now all you need to do is pull out your hook, snip away the yarn, start pulling this and grab the tail that starts to go in. Okay, and then just pull it nice and tight. All right. So I worked this piece, I worked the tail in, and it's kind of nice because you can actually pull it just gently, and it's sort of like it ties in everything really nicely. So if it got a little loose, the beauty of doing that technique instead of leaving it here is that you just pull it and it sort of tightens it, makes it a nice little curved wing. Okay, so you've made your 2 wings. We've got our 2 wings here. We've got our little center bow, and then we've got all of our outside pieces. So the next thing we need to do is his little stinger on the back. Okay, so this one you're going to need your 3rd color. So for mine it's black. Whatever color you're using, just go ahead and grab that now. For this stinger, you're going to go ahead and start with a magic ring again, in our case a double magic ring. Okay, so I'm yarning over my fingers 3 times. I'm going to grab that end there with my thumb, go under the first 2, over the last, and pull that forward. Now I'm going to slip my finger out there, yarn over, and pull through to give it a nice slip knot on there. Okay, so now we're going to do 4 single crochets into the center. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, start pulling this tail. As the other one starts to come in, you're going to pull it, the one that was starting to come in. Okay, pull that as tight as you can without breaking it, and then pull the last tail there. So that's securing it completely. Okay, now put your stitch marker in. Now you're going to go ahead and single crochet all the way around. So 1 single crochet into each of the prior round's stitches. Okay, so that's going to still end up with a total of 4 in the next round here. So I'm going in. Black yarn, it's a little tough to see the stitches, so I apologize if you can't really see them very well, because I can't even see them very well. I don't know what it is. It's like, even with lights blaring on it, I still can't see the stitches very well. I'm more feeling for it, knowing where they are, than actually seeing them. All right. It's even worse if you're using fuzzy yarn. Fuzzy, oh my gosh, forget it. Seeing stitches on black fuzzy yarn is just not happening. Just hope for the best and know that nobody is going to be able to tell if you missed one. All right, we're going through the last one here. Okay, so we've done 4 around there. Now we're going to take our stitch marker out and place it on our hook, on our new loop rather. tuck the tail to the back. Now we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase and repeat that pattern around. Okay, so single crochet into the next. Now we're going to increase in the next, which is putting 2 single crochets in 1 stitch, right? So that's increasing how many are in that round. So there's 1 increase. Okay, now I'm going to do single crochet in the next. And finally, I'm going to do an increase there on the end. Okay, and now I'm just going to, you're just going to remove your stitch marker, yarn over, pull through, and then just pull through. You're just doing a slip knot there to finish off that round. Clip away, and then make sure you cut off the center, the original tail, leaving just our end tail here. Pull that loop and then grab our end tail and pull through. Okay. You can use your little hook there to make sure you get that stinger shape for the back side of your bee. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start assembling. This is the fun part, okay? First up, I'm going to grab one of the sides that I've crocheted, doesn't matter which one. Okay, I need to grab my safety eyes. We're going to stick those in first. So grab your safety eyes and grab the backs of your safety eyes, okay? Now, use the picture as a guide, and I can just use this guy as a guide, but what I'm seeing is that I see my rows here, okay? So each eye, if you see the rows here and here, is going to go on the side. So that main line that you see, it's going to go on that main line here and here, okay? So leave the center line on its own. So it's going to go on that line and on this line. So kind of right smack dab in the center actually. But you can really play around with this. This is how you give it character. So if you want to have lower down eyes, if you want to have farther apart eyes, entirely up to you and your preference, whatever you want to do. Okay, so that matches. That's what I'm going to go ahead and go for. You'll see that the back sides are poking out. So now we need to grab the backs of our safety eyes. And you'll see on a safety eye that usually it's got one flat side and one rounded side. The flat side is what you want to hit the back of your piece. Okay, so flat side down. I usually try to get that first pop in just to hold it in, because these can tend to, especially with these smaller safety eyes, they can hurt a little bit to put in, just being honest. I hold the top of the eye with my thumb, okay, using my 2 pointer fingers to grip. I'm going to push with my thumb and pull down with my 2 fingers. See, there's one pop. I'm going to do another pop, okay, and I think I even got a third one in there. Okay, so you'll see that it's kind of buried in there. That's when you know you got all 3. Okay, so now take the other one, flat side down, brace with your thumb, grab the either side with your 2 pointer fingers. Okay, we click down just to set it in place. And now bracing, we're gonna go ahead and pop 1, 2, and then if you've got the strength, push it for a third one, okay? So you can kind of see the grooves here. There's 1, 2, and then I got it under that third one. All right, do your best, whatever you can do. And the eyes are now secure. They're not going anywhere. The next thing we're gonna do is grab our embroidery needle and our black thread. So we're going to tie off the end. So I usually grab it, twist it around once, I spin it, which kind of takes the end and puts it through, and then I just pull, and that gives me my knot on the end. Okay, sometimes if it's not a big enough knot and you think it's going to come through, you could do that again and just make it a little bit bigger. Okay, now you're going to thread your needle. You can use a needle threader if you have one. Just make sure you got all of the threads on either side. Each embroidery each strand of embroidery thread actually has 6 little strands that are wrapped together. So if you could pull them apart, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what gives you that full strand of embroidery thread. So sometimes you'll end up using just a couple if you just need to use it as a fastener but not really as a detail marker. Then sometimes they'll say just to split the embroidery thread, but we're going to use all 6. First, we're going to come up on one side of the mouth. All right, so this is going to come up right kind of, we're going around that center one that we didn't put our eyes into. We're going to be going around that one, okay? So I'm going to the right and just slightly downward from this eye here. Okay, pull it through. Now see that the knot has stayed behind. That's what you want. So now you want to make sure you're getting it even from the other eye, from how you've got it here. So here's the eye. So that distance, you want to try to get that as even as you can on the other side. Okay. All right. Now you could leave it like that. He looks kind of cheeky, doesn't he? Or maybe like he's kind of a little pissy with you. But that would actually be quite cute. I actually like that face. But I'm just going to go ahead and do the one that we've got here just to show you guys. So this is really what gives them personality. Like this is the look my daughter gives me all the time. That's why I think it's so funny. All right, so I am coming up sort of in the center between where these two are coming up. Okay, so see how I'm right in the center? I'm going to come up from just down below. I'm going under that thread because what I'm doing is I'm pulling it down. Do you see how it's doing that? Okay, so I'm coming up just underneath where the stitch is. So kind of like where the little chin mark would be, right? We're going underneath. We're trying to pull it down, basically. That's what our goal is to give it a shape. So to do that, you have to go up and around it. So now I've got it coming up from the top side. Okay, now I'm going to put it back into that same, where I've come out from the back. I'm going to go into that same space. And I'm going to pull down. Okay, see how it's pulled it down, so it's smiling instead of being snarky. All right, and then I'm going to do a little cheek circle. So you could do the cheek circle on either side, totally personal preference. And actually, I'm going to do mine on the other side, and the reason is because it looks like this side is down a little bit, so I'm going to put it on the higher side of the smile, because that would be kind of how a person would be, right, if they're doing a side smile. So I'm going to go up from just above and kind of at an angle. I'm going to make this angled line right here. So come up. Then you're making a T shape right around that end. So just go about the same equal distance on the other side of the stitch and pull. Okay, so that's given me my little smile. All right, so now I can fasten this off in the back, and I usually just grab some of the yarn in the back, but making sure that I don't pull towards the front there. You don't want your needle to poke through the front. Okay, and then I just go through that center loop, pull. I usually do that a couple times in that same spot just to really fasten this and secure it so it's not coming out. Okay, go ahead and clip that away. All right, so now we've got the face. Now we need our cheeks. So now we're grabbing our pink yarn, doing the same thing. I wrap it around my finger and I twist it and then I pull it, and that gives me my knot on the end there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle again. All right. Now I'm going to do the little cheeks on either side, and all these are straight stitches. So just come in when you're coming up. It's always good to come up sort of splitting a stitch, because if you come up in the in-between spaces, it's just going to pop that knot right through. So you really need to go in the in-between, right? Because even yarn has multiple strands. So you're coming in between those and pulling it till you feel it's secure. There's the little knot. And then you're just going to go down in a space that's not too far to do a little straight stitch, okay? And then you're going to go on that same space. We're going to do that a few times just to make it a little thicker so we can see it better. Okay. And do it again. And this is, again, personal preference. So if you want a little tiny one, you can do a little tiny one. You want a bigger, thicker one, you could do that. So I'm just gonna do one more, and I think that'll be good on that side. Okay, so there's one cheek. I'm gonna do the other side. So you want it to be even, so make sure you're always looking, you know, left and right. Make sure you're about the same on either side. And now we're doing our little straight stitch on the other cheek. I got into bees because my kids had me play this Roblox game called Bee Swarm Simulator, and ever since I've just like been kind of obsessed with bees. Bee stuff. I think it's just so cute, you know, especially when they stick their little booties out when they're trying to get the pollen and whatnot, the honeybees. They're so cute. Their little legs are dangling down. Anyways, that's what's got me on this bee kick. But I thought this was really sweet because, you know, be present. We all need to be present in the moment. And it's just like a nice little gift that you can give somebody when they're having a hard time or whatever it is. And I mean, who couldn't love that face, right? Look at that. Now you could do little eyebrows if you wanted. Those would just be another little straight stitch, kind of like the mouth, but just up here if you're interested. You could do a little chin mark. You know, this is really customizable. You could do little eyelashes, would be really cute. For those, I would start to try to go underneath the eye a little bit, so make sure it looks like it's coming out from the eye. So all of those possibilities, totally personal preference. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tie this one off. Okay, so next what we need to do is we need to start creating the cube. So we're gonna grab another piece, and you'll notice on this little guy, so you'll see that I've got the lines going up, 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 and up, and then on the sides, see where the face is, I have them going this direction. You know, you're gonna see the lines, so in order to try to make it as uniform as I could, I'm just gonna follow the lines and go around first. So let's go ahead. Let's now grab our yarn needle and thread our yarn needle with the end here from our face piece. Now we're gonna line it up, all right? And we're going to we're whip stitching across here, okay? So going from the outside of the braid on the other piece, now coming to the next stitch here, we're going from the back side to the front, okay? So you see I've got both stitches on there, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull. So now these are connected, and you wanna try to make sure that they're matching up, okay? So now this one needs to go over across here, and then I'm gonna go back down into the next one over. Okay, now go into the next. So we're going straight across first, then we're going back to the face piece and going from the back side to the front, and then pull tight, okay? So this is just whip stitching. This is an easy way to sew pieces together here. You're not necessarily going to need every tail that you've left, so you know, if it ends up getting tucked back, that's fine. You can use however long this one gets you. All right, so now I'm going to grab another one. So it's kind of giving us this little L shape, right? I'm going to go ahead and do one on the top to create the top part of our bee. So I've got this. This is what I'm going to use later to sew these two ends together, or these two edges together. But right now I'm going to continue working on with this piece. I'm going to go into the corner stitch here on my next square, and you'll see that, see my lines? They line up with the face piece, so you want to make sure that the lines line up, pun intended. All right, so we're going to go from the outermost part, right? So the outer side of the stitch to the underside, and from the underside of the other side to the outside. Oh my gosh, you guys. Oh my goodness. I think I need more coffee. Okay, you get the picture. All right, so now we're going around again, back to the front, and pull tight. And we're just going along here. So now we're at the end of the face here. So now we're going to need to grab another piece. Okay, I'm having the lines going up just like on the front. Okay, and I'm going to go from the corner stitch here. See, we're in the corner. All right, now we're going to work along this side. Okay, so pulled it tight, gone around to this side, and we're going to go down underneath. All right, we're going to keep going until we've reached the end, being mindful of where our tail is going to end, right? So I'm starting to run out of thread here. So this is probably going to be the last side that I'm able to stitch with this one, and then I'll have to pick up one of the other ones. All right, so I'm going to go back into that same one because I'm going to tie this one off. Okay, so I'm just going back into the same one here. I'm going to go into the underside of our piece, and I'm just going to go ahead and tie it off like we did before with the embroidery pieces. Okay, tie it 2 times. I usually do 2 times. That's just to secure it even better. All right. I'm going to put this one away. All right, so let's see where we're at here. So now we've got this, he's coming along, look at that. All right, so now let's go ahead and pick up this other one. We'll start forming the cube. There's really no rhyme or reason to this, you guys. So, you know, all you're doing is stitching the pieces together to form a cube. You just want to make sure before you finish the cube that you put inside whatever it is that you're going to be stuffing it with. Now, because I'm going to use this foam block, one thing I would recommend is actually to poke these into the foam, okay? The back sides of the safety eyes, you're going to poke into the foam to secure it, and also so that it doesn't bunch forward and create just a big bubble face, you know? So that's what I would suggest, is just to basically take it and push the eyes into the foam, and then they'll be secure in the foam. The foam, and then that way they're nice and secure, okay? So then you're just working around the cube. So you can do that at any point, whatever. If it's easier for you to have the cube in there, you can do that now. I'm just gonna go ahead and have it in there now. All right, so I'm going from the outside. Okay, and just stitching around. Get to these corners and you're finishing off these corners, you might just want to do a couple stitches just going into either other piece than the one that you're in, and that way you're just really securing it. So if you haven't put your cube in yet, you can still go into the back and and then just go ahead and tie this off on the back side. Doing the same thing over here to make sure that I'm closing any potential gaps there in the corners before I move forward along the side. You can see how it's coming out. We've just got 2 more ends there. Let's grab another one. we're just going to keep going. All right, now let's grab our last piece. Okay, it's going to go this way. Going into the corner. Again, just remember before you close this thing off that you either stuff it or you put a foam block in there, or if you do a wood block, I would recommend actually clipping off some of this excess part of the safety eye, not all the way down, maybe give it like 1 or 2 rungs there, but clip off the bulk amount of it, and that way it's not poking the face forward. So that's just a pro tip for you, as my son says. All right, so now we're kind of at the point now where we need to stuff it. So again, you can use stuffing if you've got that and you want to just stuff it. That's just going to make it more plump shaped, right? More like a marshmallow than it will a cube. Or you can have a wood block, like something like this, although I don't have the right size, but something like this would work really well if you had the right fit. You can always go to the craft store too. That's a great place to kind of test it out and see what size you need. Okay, but I've already kind of poked through where I want the eyes to go, so I'm just going to fit this in. So now that I've got the cube in, I'm going to finish this off here. So I'm going to use this tail to sew this spot, and then I'm just going to use this tail to sew back this direction, okay? And then since we can't go on the underside, another way you can do this is just come up in one of the spaces between the stitches. You do the same kind of thing, but you have to just make sure you're grabbing a stitch, right? But you got to make sure you grab that full stitch and don't split the yarn, because if you split the yarn, then your knot is not going to tuck in to the inside. It's going to stick on the outside, because you're going to lift it up, see where the hole is, stick your needle into that hole, come out somewhere else, and then when you pull, your knot will tuck in. Okay? And it'll only do that if you haven't split the yarn when you're tying that off. Okay? So this one's done, and I'm going to do that last piece to finish off our Be Present cube portion anyway. Then we're going to work on his stripes and putting his bow and his stinger on and finishing him up. Okay, I'm just finishing this off here. We just about finished the cube, tucking that last end in and cutting this away. And then if you stick your needle in, you can kind of swivel it under and that'll tuck the end in. Okay, so at this point we need to go ahead and do the stripes. So you have a couple options here. You can just go ahead and crochet directly on to your cube, and that just entails you going and making a slip knot, getting it on your hook, and then to attach it, you just go ahead and go find where you want to make your stripe, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through that one. Okay, now wherever your tail is, you're going to go the opposite direction. Okay, so you're going to go into that same stitch where you're coming out of, go to the next one, yarn over, pull through. Okay, and just keep going all the way around, making sure that you're staying in a straight line as best as you can. Okay, because otherwise it's going to be a very wonky stripe. So this is one way. This is one way that you can do it, okay? And then when you get back to the end, you'll just do your slip stitch to connect and then cut away the excess, and then you'll have your stripe, you'll make another one, and you're good to go, okay? So that's one technique. So you're basically just chaining, right? You're chaining, but you're directly chaining onto the bee. That way is great. It can be a little tricky, okay? So if it's not working for you or you want to do another way, This is make a slip knot on your hook, and you're just going to chain separately from the cube to start, then you'll sew it down. Okay, so this is the other way to do this. Let's go ahead and start chaining, and this is also going to change. So if I chain 20, you might need to chain 30. It depends on your tension, depends on the yarn that you're using, and you're going to use whatever size cube you ended up with as your guide to see how big you need this to be. So let's go ahead and start chaining. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, I'm going to start with 20. I'm going to see how far that gets me. I know that's not going to be enough, but let's see where we are here. Okay, so that's almost half, or just about halfway, so let's keep going. 7, 38, 39, let's try 40 because that's double what we had. Okay, so let's grab our little bee here and go around. Okay, loose, you don't want it to be too tight. Okay, see, I overshot there, so let's start taking out a few because we went a little too far. So I was at 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, let's see, okay, 36. All right, so mine is a chain 36. Whatever yours is completely fine. It's going to be totally unique to your cube because, as I said, everybody's is going to be different. Also too, if you don't have the right hook size, or you have whatever hook you have, you know, that's what changes the size on things. If you'll notice, this one's a little smaller than this one, right? It's because I'm using a different hook than I did when I made this one. It doesn't really matter. You just need to make sure whatever you stuff it with is the right size for the piece that you made. Okay, and that's kind of the fun about amigurumis, is that they can be completely customized to the materials that you have in hand, whether that's softer yarns that'll make things smaller, or thicker yarns that are going to make things bigger, even if you use the same crochet hook. And we'll talk about that more in other videos, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how it can change depending on what yarn you're using, what hook you're using, and how your tension is too. That can also make things different. So I've done 36 chains here. I'm going to go ahead and tie this off, giving myself enough of a tail to sew this down to the bee. Okay, so this is one stripe that we're going to go ahead and put on him. Now, this is, again, personal preference. This one I did was 3, so I'm going to do a couple more. And you can make 2 stripes if you want. You could do 4 stripes if you want. Totally up to you, but whatever number of stripes you want to have, go ahead and make those now, okay? And so then we'll have all our stripes ready to go and ready to sew onto our cube. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've made 3 stripes that we're going to go ahead and sew down now to our cube. All right, so let's get everything out of the way here. Grab our yarn needle and one of our stripes. Okay. I'm going to grab the longer tail and thread my needle. I'm going to decide where I want that stripe to be. So I'm going to have it go right about here. Okay. So I'm going braid side up. Okay. And you'll notice on one side you have the braid, on the other side you have a bump. Okay. So there's a bump behind each of the braids. That bump is what you're going to use to sew this down, okay? You're going to go into that bump and stitch it down, and you're that together. Okay, so I'm just going to go into the first, come out on the next one. Okay, now you're going to flip this over so you can see where the bumps are and grab one on the back. Okay, now go back into the same stitch, come out next door, and pull. You don't need to pull too tight, just trying to secure it, okay? Now we're gonna go and get the next bump. You don't have to do every single one if you don't want to. I would just kind of play it by ear. Whichever one lies over where you've brought your needle, that's the one you're going to want to stitch into. Okay? And you're ultimately just trying to make sure that it's secured. So now I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to see there's this bump is right over where I'm at. I'm going to grab it and then go back down in. Okay, same thing. Lay this down. Okay, it's this one. So I'm going to grab that bump. Okay. So I'm kind of going every couple of rows here. Kind of make sure that you're going straight, and I'm doing a good job here. Pat myself on the back. All right, keep going. Okay. Now we're going around. Let's grab another bump. I think I'm actually on the next one over. Here we go. Yep. And just keep on going until you get all the way back to where you started. I'll meet you back when you're at the end of stitching the first stripe on your bee. Okay, so once we've gotten to that end there, I'm going to go ahead and go to the end of the stripe. I'm going to pull it down so that we can get it to connect to the beginning one here. Okay, and you're going to have to get that little tail out of the way. Okay, all right, so now what you need to do, you can see that the stripe's gone all the way around. We've kept it relatively straight, and we're just going to go ahead and fasten these ends off and tuck them in. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, and then we'll do the same on this other end here. Make sure we go into the very beginning of our stripe, so we're really trying to make sure that it's attached and matches the remainder of the stripe. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and connect those two. Okay, so there you go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look underneath the braid to tie off, and where we've been tacking it down, we're going to grab that black stitch. It's always best to grab a stitch of the same color instead of, for example, grabbing a yellow stitch, because it's going to hide this little knot a lot easier and a lot better. Okay, so I've made the little knot. I'm going to go back into that same stitch, come out somewhere else, and then pull it so that it pops into our piece and doesn't stay on the outside. Okay, flip it away and tuck in that little toot like so. There we go. All right, stripe one is done. So now we need to do the other two stripes, or one, depending on your choice again. So for mine, I'm going to do another one here. And actually, because this one's a bit smaller than this other guy, I think I'm just going to do two. Okay, so I'm just going to do one more. You can do whatever you want. Let's go ahead and meet back though when we're finished with the stripes, and then we'll go ahead and work on the stinger and the bow. Okay, so we've got our stripes tacked down now. They're not going anywhere. Now we've got a couple more things we need to do. One of them is to put his little stinger on. So let's go ahead and thread our needle. Now the stinger is pretty small, so you could stuff it if you wanted to. You wouldn't need to put too much in there. So you could just grab a little bit of fluff here and maybe use the back of your crochet hook. That usually helps to tuck in the stuffing. And just go ahead and stuff it real quick, just a little bit. You don't need to overstuff it. You don't want the stitching, or you don't want the stuffing rather, to start showing through the stitches. Okay. All right, so now we just go ahead and squish it a little bit, make sure it's in there. Okay, there's our stuffed stinger. See where his face is, so he's going this way. Okay, so you want to be pretty much in the middle of where his backside is. And what you're going to do is you're whip stitching it around. Okay, so pick up a stitch, Come to the next stitch over, pull, and then the braid that was left at the end of the last round here, that's what you're tacking down. So you're going to go underneath both sides of the braid, like so, from the outside to the inside, then go back into that same space that you've got your working yarn coming out of, and then go next door. Okay, and you're just going to go all the way around, tacking down each of the stitches in a little bit of a circle here to stitch the little stinger down for your bee. That stinger's centered on his back side or his booty. I think I've got one more. Okay. Oops. All right, now come back over to one of the other stitches on the other side. This is where I'm going to finish it off, okay? So we've stitched all 6 of that last braid down. Now I'm going to pick up a stitch here on the other side. Okay, and then go through the loop to tie a knot. Now lift the knot up and find where this hole space is underneath it. Come out somewhere else on your bee and pull the knot in. Okay, so there we go. His little stinger is attached. Just clip away that excess yarn and tuck in the end. All right, perfect. So now he's got his stinger, he's got his stripes, he's got one more thing he needs, and that is his present bow or his wings, right? They look like a bow. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna stitch the little center circle onto the bee. Okay, so again, this is gonna go pretty much in the center, right? It's gonna go right in the center of your cube, in the center of between the sides, okay, right in the middle. And again, we're gonna do the same thing we did with the stinger. So we're threading our needle. We're holding it with our thumb just to make sure we keep that placement. Okay, come out somewhere else. Go, that's got it. Now we've tacked it down. Okay, and then we're going into each of the stitches. Because I just did 2 stripes, I'm just putting it right in between them, the little wings. If you did 3, like I did on this one, I put it on that center one. Okay. These are such small pieces, you don't have to stuff them because they're not really you're not gonna really notice that it's not stuffed, but you can stuff them if you'd like, just to give it a little bit more, you know, a little more tension there. Not so wiggly. This one's a little wiggly. So totally up to you. So I'm not stuffing it. You can see it's still got pretty good tension on there. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab this first stitch that I did, tie my knot. Okay, lift it up, find the hole, come out somewhere else on the body, and pop the knot in. Okay, so now it's on the inside, you can't see it. And we're gonna cut away the end and tuck it in to the piece. All right, one final piece here. Well, 2 if you count both sides, right? All right, so you've got one tail still, unless you've already weaved it in. If you haven't, you can go ahead and weave it in now because you only really need that working tail to stitch it down. So it's just going to go on either side of the circle, okay? So we're just tacking that down, and then you have your choice. If you want to just tack it in that one space, you can, and it'll be more upright bow, or if you want a bow that's more laying down, you can always take additional tucking stitches to really put it more sideways, if you will. So you have options, right? So upwards or outwards, personal preference. Oops. This guy is trying to get away from me. All right, so I am going to connect my piece to the sides of that circle in the center. Here we go. And you want to see the braid on the front side, okay? So the braid is on the front, the back you won't see the braid. You can see that, okay? All right, Now I'm gonna just take a stitch on the back here. Again, making sure I don't go to the front. I'm just grabbing a stitch. We're just tacking this down really. Okay. Okay, so if you did an upright bow, then it would almost look kind of bunny-ish, right? So that's one way. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it down just slightly. So that means I'm gonna lift it up, grab a stitch down here, a little further down, and I'm gonna stitch that. I'm gonna go to the back here. Might need to do another one. Okay, I like that, good. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and grab one in the back here just to make sure it's nice and solid on there. I think that's all I'm gonna need. So I'm gonna go back over here on the other side of the circle. See how the bow came out on that side, and I really like how that looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and tie this one off because that's already finished. This is a nice quick spot here, or a little quick section rather. Okay, lift up that knot, find the hole underneath, come somewhere else on your bee, tuck in the knot, and cut away your thread there. Tuck it in. All right, one more and then he's done. So let's go ahead and tuck in this end. So I'm gonna pull it and see if there's any kind of gaps here that you wanna hide. You can actually use this tail to sort of tighten that, right? So I could go, for example, I could go up and around here. So see that little gap right there? I don't want it. So I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna tighten, okay? See how it's closing that gap? It's kind of a little trick. Sometimes our tension isn't what we want it to be, so in that case we can fix it. We just need a little bit of a tail there. Okay, I'm gonna weave it back up because I want to make sure that this doesn't go anywhere. Even if somebody was playing with it and wrenching the little wings this way and that, it's going to be nice and secure on the inside of this wing here. Okay, nothing on the front. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this away now. Let's go stretch a little bit. That'll tuck it in. Okay, now grab our needle one last time. We're going to go ahead and finish this little guy and sew his other wing piece down. So again, we want the braid on the front. Find the spot that we want to tack it first, which is for me right here. Okay. Make sure that braid stays in the front. Now I'm going to go to the back a little bit here because I'm going to tack down another stitch on the wing because we want to make sure it's tacked down just the same as you did on the other side. So whatever you ended up doing, if you had it coming up, just make sure you do the same on both sides so they match. Tack it down, go to the front. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to do one more little tacking stitch. I'm not grabbing the braid. I want to keep that braid because I like it. It gives it a nice outline for his wing. So I'm going to grab the stitch behind the braid and then I'll come back out over here on the other side because I need to sew off or bind off this last little piece here. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to just go ahead and pick up another blue stitch from somewhere else, tie my knot as we've been doing, lift it up, find this hole underneath or the gap, come out somewhere else like so, tuck that in, and a lot of times you can almost hear it like pop into the piece. It's very satisfying. My daughter would say, "Ooh, ASMR, Mom." It's all about ASMR now. All right, there's one little guy right there. We're gonna tuck him in. And you know what? Look at that. We finished our little bee present. What a good gift idea, right? Make a little bee present for somebody who likes bees. This would be a great gift for somebody who likes bees like I do. And he's unique because he's square instead of being very circular like most bees are. So now I've got 3 bee presents here. It almost looks like the baby, right? These 2 are a little bit bigger. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I can't wait to see how your bee presents came out. Thanks, guys. See you next time.